Howdy folks, and welcome back to the patch 8.9 test server with the mighty Jingles. Today we're still looking at the German tank destroyer line, and we finally made it as far as tier 7. After the fantastic Nashorn at tier 6, we get this thing, the new German tier 7 tank destroyer, and I have absolutely no idea of how to pronounce that name. Germany, why is your language so hard? You're not impressing anybody, you know. Luckily, it did have a nickname. This was known as the Sturer Emil, which I'm probably mispronouncing anyway, but it basically meant stubborn Emil. However, that's not what I want to call it. I mean, there's another name I'd like to call this thing by. Does it remind you of any other German tank destroyer? Kind of looks a bit like the Dicker Max. It's a sort of bigger version of the Dicker Max. If you like, it's a big dick. I know it's juvenile, I know it's puerile, but if I didn't say it, somebody was going to, so I thought I'd just get it out of the way right at the start of the video. Don't worry, we're not going to call it the big dick, although, hey, if you want to, I can't stop you. It's the Sturer Emil, and it shares other features in common with the Dicker Max. The Dicker Max was infamous for having legendary gun depression, and this thing, it may even be better. Seriously, that muzzle will go all the way down here. It would go further, but the front of the tank gets in the way. You could quite literally dig a trench in front of this tank as you drive along by burying that gun muzzle in the ground. The gun depression on this machine is absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, that's the best thing about the tank. Now, before I provoke some howls of outrage, I am not saying this is a bad tank destroyer. Okay, that is definitely not what I'm saying. I just found it to be a little uninspiring after the fantastic Tier 5 flak bus and the Nashorn, and the tank destroyers that come after it, the Rheinmetall Ballistic Waffenträger, I've forgotten what the other ones are called, the Waffenträger Panzer IV, the Waffenträger E100 are fantastic machines. This one is just not bad. In fact, in some ways, this thing is actually quite bad. But we'll come on to that when we look at the stats. As an overall package, however, this is not a bad machine. It's just not as exciting as the others, unfortunately. You stand all of these new German tank destroyers up in a line, starting with the Marder 38T, going all the way up. And this guy does not look very good in comparison to the others. That doesn't mean he's bad, it just means that he looks pretty bad in comparison to the fantastic machines that are standing on the left and right of him. So what do we actually have here? Well, 850 hit points, which isn't bad, actually. It's not bad for a tier 7 machine. It's heavier than the others, 37.05 tons with a 310 horsepower engine. It is a slow machine. It will only do 25 kilometers per hour. I think the Churchill 3 is faster than that. Let's have a quick look. Yep, that thing is faster than the Sturer Emil. So this is a slow machine, which is quite a departure for the Germans. Their machines are usually pretty mobile. Well, this thing definitely isn't. 25 kilometer per hour speed limit, relatively weak engine. It just doesn't move very quickly at all. The traverse speed is not terrible, however. 34 degrees per second isn't bad. The armor, yeah, it's garbage. 50, 30, and 30. The armor is just terrible. But that's the thing about these new German tank destroyers. Powerful guns, awful armour. They're dangerous machines, but they're very easy to kill. They're glass cannons. The gun traverse speed, well, again, it doesn't have a turret, so the amount that the quickness with which you can turn the gun from left to right is largely irrelevant. What is of more concern in this thing is the amount that you can turn the gun to the left and the right before you have to move the tank. And this thing may even have worse gun traverse than the ARL V39. I didn't believe that was possible, but the gun traverse on this tank is very, very bad. At the most, and I don't have numbers for it because, you know, you're sitting here in the garage looking at the same stats as me. Wargaming do not give you these numbers. But the most that you can turn the gun to the left and right is probably about that much. And even that might be exaggerating it slightly. It is pretty bad. So bear that in mind. And you can see the reason for it. I mean, you look at the upper casement, and it's very narrow. There is not a lot of space inside that superstructure to actually physically turn the gun to the left and the right. So it makes perfect sense, but it's not much consolation for you when you're trying to shoot at a target that's over there. Because you can't point the gun at him. You have to move the whole machine. And then, of course, you have to start aiming the gun again, and so on and so on and so on. View range, however, very good, 400 meters. Signal range, also very good, 700 meters. Now, there are a choice of 2 guns on this tank. Now, a lot of the time when you're looking at a tank destroyer, the gun selection is fairly predictable. You've got the stock gun, which is awful. Then you've got the intermediate gun, which is not very good, but it's better than the stock gun. And then you've got the top gun, which is like, oh yeah, that's the one we want. Well, that's not really the case with the Sturer Emil. It has 2 guns to choose from. A 128mm gun and a stock 105mm gun. And that's what the 105mm looks like, and it looks even more like the Dickermax when you put the 105mm on. But I digress. So, just looking at the stats of the 2 guns, however, doesn't tell you the whole picture. But we'll do that for the meantime. The 105mm gun obviously fires faster because it's a smaller shell. It's not as difficult for the crew to manhandle a smaller caliber shell into the breech of the gun. So you get 7.5 rounds per minute versus the 4.35 rounds per minute of the 128. The penetration, however, is a bit lacking. It only has 169mm of penetration, and even with premium, it only has 227. But yeah, 169 isn't especially bad. It's just especially bad for a tank destroyer. A tier 7 tank destroyer that doesn't have as much penetration as the heavy tanks of the same tier is not very, it's nothing to get excited about. The damage, however, is pretty good, 300, and so is the accuracy and the aiming time, 0.36 and 2.3. Now, the 128mm gun, on the other hand, while it does fire much slower, 4.35 rounds per minute, you're looking at about a 12-second reload on this thing, even with a gun rammer. The penetration is very good for a tier 7 tank destroyer, 231mm. That's very, very good indeed. As is the damage, 490. The accuracy is exactly the same as on the 105, and the aiming time is not that much worse. 2.5 seconds is not a bad aiming time. It's not quite a good aiming time either. It's just, it's not bad. So on the face of it, you might be thinking, well, 105mm, crappy penetration. I can live without the rate of fire. Everything else, there's not that much difference. I'm getting much better penetration, much better damage of the 128. I'll go for the 128. Hold your horses there, Tex. Just looking at the stats of the guns does not tell the whole story. With the 105mm fitted, you can load 60 rounds of ammunition. With the 128mm gun fitted, 15, not 50. That's a 1 and a 5 in that order. 15 rounds of ammo. How many tanks are on the enemy team? Unless you can kill them all with one shot. Let's just say it's not unusual for this thing to run out of ammunition and then become about as much use to your team as tits on a fish halfway through a battle if you're using the 128mm gun, because it only gets 15 rounds of ammo. This thing hurts when you miss. More than any other machine in the game. I have never been so frustrated as any other machine when I fire with that 128mm gun and I miss the target because I know it's going to cost me dearly. Or when I fire and it bounces and fails to penetrate. I think more than any other machine in the game, you have got to make every single shot you fire count with this gun, because you just do not have the ammunition to spare with messing around, missing shots and bouncing. If you do not have a lot of sniper medals, you're probably going to want to stick to the 105mm gun. And live with the 169mm of penetration, or just buy yourself some skill and use APCR ammo. If you are going to use APCR ammo, it's going to be expensive. 4,400 credits per shot, or 11 gold. So those are your choices of guns. As far as equipment fit goes, well, gun rammer, obviously, especially if you're using the 128mm. Even with a gun rammer, you've got around about a 12-second reload with that big old gun. The rest of the equipment, I genuinely don't think there's any possible choice on this thing other than camo net and binoculars. Although you could argue the case for coated optics rather than binoculars because it is so slow. You spend a lot of time moving in this thing. It's almost like driving a T28. Well, it's not quite as bad as driving a T28, but T28 drivers are going to know what I'm talking about. This is a slow machine. And I have, when driving it on the test server, been spending a lot of time playing catch up with the battle. And when you're moving, you've got no benefit whatsoever from your binocular telescopes. So perhaps not binocular telescopes, perhaps coated optics, but either way you want some sort of vision device on this thing, and you definitely want a camo net, because 50mm of armor is not going to protect you. You need to be, at the very least, second line of battle, well behind your forward tanks, using them to spot targets for you. And firing while being in concealment and not giving your position away when you're firing, because everybody's going to want to kill these things because it has such a dangerous gun and it's so easy to kill. For that you're going to need the camo net and the binocular telescope, or coated optics, whichever you decide to go with. In those games where your team are complete muppets and you have to do your own spotting because nobody's going forward to spot for you, well, you're going to want to spot them long before they spot you. And again, for the same reason, you're going to want binocular telescope and camo net. So, game on? Yeah, the game on. Let's have a go. Right, my first game in the Sturer Emil. And I wish every game in the Sturer Emil could be like this. Oh, running at normal speed. Check out the gun depression, by the way. It really is phenomenally good. Where is it? There you go, look at that. Gun traverse pretty terrible, however. Yeah, I wish every game in the Sturer Emil could be like this. I've only got 15 shots, but there's only 8 enemies and I'm top tier, so what's not to like? And there's no denying that. I'm just having a quick check there. I thought that guy was possibly trying to just, you know, oh, hello. Oh dear. And I wish more enemies would do this. You know, you take 2/3 of his health off and he just keeps driving straight towards you. More players like him on the enemy team, please. So, yeah, and undeniably, if you're running this a 128mm gun at tier 7 is great. But of course the price you pay for that is only having 15 shots. And of course the slower aiming time, which as you can see is not bad. I mean, 2.5 seconds is not bad. But in combination with one of the worst gun traverses of any tank destroyer I've ever played, it can be problematic. And of course, sometimes, even 0.36 accuracy, you just miss. And if you've only got 15 shots to play with, yeah. This was a dodgy shot. Any closer and I could have team killed that AT-15A. So yeah, it's the whole, I mean 0.36 accuracy is not bad accuracy, but I just feel that if you've only got 15 shots with this gun, the accuracy needs to be better. I don't think there's a tank in the game where it hurts as much when you miss your targets. So I haven't really gotten a chance to show you the gun depression at work in this game, but there is a game coming up where if it had not been for the gun depression, the phenomenally good gun depression in this thing, we would have probably lost. But that's to come later. In the meantime, this one isn't over yet. We're winning 5-3. There's only 3 of them left. No idea where they are. Type 64. Those little Type 64s, by the way, are great little light tanks. I'll be doing a review of one of those soon. There's their flak bus. Unfortunately, the flak bus has been spotted. Flak buses that get spotted tend to die very, very quickly. By the way, look at the speed of this. It's just not good, is it? Yeah, it's a weak engine. It really, really is. But, you know, it turns relatively quickly, as you can see there. Now, here's a 3002D who's bad, a very, very bad day. I do 490 average damage with this gun. He has 498 health. Can I kill him? Can I kill him? Ammo racked, just to add insult to injury. Yeah, there, 9 shots left. And most games would barely have started at this stage. So that is a significant factor with the 128mm gun, the fact that you only get 15 shots with it. You know, the rest of your team had better be on the ball if you're driving this tank and you're using the 128, because you cannot carry donkeys in this thing. Not if you're using the 128mm gun. You just do not have the ammunition capacity for it. Well, I played a few more games with a 128mm gun, and well, they weren't great. It wasn't the gun, you know, it was just the matches that I was getting into were less than optimal. I seem to be playing at that peculiar... There's a guy there, North American server, but you wish you had this matchup for the IS-3A Jingles. You're damn right I do. Yeah. But, yeah, I just seem to keep running into... I was playing very, very late at night, very early in the morning, and a lot of the North American players were on, and it was almost like playing War Thunder in arcade battles. I kept getting spotted, and everybody would just keep mobbing me. The second I got detected, you just see half the enemy team start YOLOing across the battlefield, which was great for my team, because they got all these free shots in with these tanks that just didn't give a shit. Wasn't so good for me. So, unfortunately, I can't really show you any more games using the 128mm gun. And I was getting kind of, you know, pissed off about it all, and I thought, you know, do I really want to load up the 105mm? 169mm of penetration, just... But I thought, you know what? You deserve to know all about the tank. So this is the 105mm gun. 60 rounds of ammunition. I mean, I know the 128mm shells are bigger than the 108mm shells, but they're not that much bigger. I don't understand why the 128 only gets 15 rounds of ammo. It seems like an artificial limitation that they've imposed on the machine. I can appreciate that it shouldn't have as much ammunition as you can fit into the thing with the 105, but 15 just seems stupid. In case you're wondering, nothing to shoot at there. I was just attempting to blow away a bit of cover, shooting at a hut in between those two rocks, since there was nothing better for me to do. Now, I didn't want to do it, but I loaded up the 105mm gun. Just to, you know, show you the difference. And I wasn't expecting great things. No premium ammo, standard 169mm penetration, armor piercing. And we've spotted most of their tier 8 heavies coming up this side of the map. New map, by the way, in case it wasn't obvious. So they've already nailed the Tiger that we had guarding that flank. And there's just myself and an SU-152, 2 tier 7 tank destroyers, guarding this back route into the base. Although, to be fair, the team does react well, and we do get some heavy tank support. Now watch this gun depression at work. And, by the way, I really, really like this map. If I'd been in any other machine, I would probably probably have died trying to pull off what I do here. Super Pershing, eh? Wait for it. Rear of the turret. Thank you. And turn and get back behind the rocks. And now we've got a 112, so I'm bracketed now. But this guy didn't appear to realise that he has a mini-map. He doesn't seem to have noticed me up here. And again, watch this gun depression. Now the Super Pershing behind him can't hit me because I've got this big old rock on my left. Going for his Commander's Cupola, badly aimed shot, he fires and misses, and I know what the reload on that thing is like. I've got him now, can take my time. There's my first kill. Now Super Pershing's just run out of friends. There's a Lerva moving in on him. So back round the other side. No, there's an IS-6 further back, but IS-6s don't have great view range. And move forward and bang, right into his engine deck. Spotted again, T-4485. It's like the Lerva's cliff diving on him. He's put one into him on the move. Good shooting by that Lerva driver, and then he rams him. So he didn't need my help. Ooh, somebody took a shot at me, and it was probably the IS-6, but it missed by miles. Not done with the gun depression on this thing, though. More to come. And this isn't bad matchmaking. It's mostly a tier 8 game. Helped by the fact that their ISU 152s just killed a member of their own team. I think it was one of their other was the Panther 2. The Panther 2 did more, just started shooting at friendly tanks, and the ISU 152 just turned around and put him down. Panther 2 did something like 540 damage to his team, and none to the enemy, so they just executed him. So, you know, don't think too harshly of the ISU 152 driver, but, you know, it didn't really help the team. Great for us, of course. Okay, so there's an IS-6 down there, and the SU 152 has just, well, he's gotten himself into trouble. Now, I'm not going to be fast enough to save... Well, he's dead anyway. Well, no he isn't, he's still alive. He's going to be dead very soon. I'm not going to be fast enough to save the SU-152 here, I don't think. But there's a Lerva coming up the road, and he will have... There we go, the SU-152 is dead. The IS-6 has killed him. But check out that gun depression. And back the turret. And that damaged his ammo rack. And he fires and misses because he doesn't wait to aim. He's driving an IS-6, so we'll put another one in with him. And he is not going to reload in time. Damaged ammo rack and all that. Now he's gone. And as Derek1450 from the North American server is commenting, mad gun depression with this tank. It really is phenomenally good. Now it's far from over. I've lost games that we were winning with a much bigger lead than this before, and they've got 3 very, very dangerous tier 8 tanks left. That Object 416 has a nasty 100mm gun and is a very difficult target to hit, as are the 2 Rheinmetall Borsig Waffenträgers. Now I don't know what guns they're using. If they have any sense whatsoever, they'll be using the 128mm rather than the 150. But 2 shots from either of those guns, and I'm in serious, serious trouble. And we have no idea where either of them are, except that wherever they are, somebody just fired at our Rheinmetall Waffenträger. So they're in a position to shoot, or at least one of them is in a position to shoot at him. So I'm going to use whatever cover I can. Oh, there's one of them. There's one of them. Don't have much of a shot. Lerva kills him. That 12-second reload on the 128mm gun would have killed me. If I'd had the 128mm loaded, and I wouldn't have been able to nail that Waffenträger. As it happens, he was using the 150, the amount of damage that he did to me there. And then I was hit immediately afterwards. And killed. Time to quick avenge me in chat, and yeah, they see the funny side. So all they have left now is the frying pan, and he's sitting there on 3 kills. Zillanut from the North American server. And our Russians are going to hunt him down and kill him. I hope, because it would be a real heartbreaker to lose at this stage. But that Lerva driver knew what he was doing. He was really, really good. And they're closing in on this fella from 2 different directions. Actually, from 3 different directions. I haven't got a clue what a 112 driver is doing. He may have just gone AFK. Unusual. Is that the stock 88mm gun on the Ferdinand? Why would you do that? It's the test server. You can have whatever gun you like. Oh, Rheinmetall Borsig found him and killed him, and that is game over. I have to admit, that was one hell of an unexpected result. I really was not looking forward to playing this thing with 105mm gun, due to the uninspiring penetration, but 169mm of penetration it's a tier 7 machine. You're going to be shooting at tier 5s, tier 6s, tier 7s, tier 8s and tier 9s. And with the exception of the tier 9s, 169mm will do. I mean, that was a tier 8 game, and most of the things I was shooting at, in fact, all of the things I was shooting at in that game were tier 8, and the gun did the job. So, you know, you just need to know where to shoot. So, how would I sum up the new tier 7 German tank destroyer, the Sturer Emil? Not the Big Dick, okay? That's not what we're going to call it, all right? It's the Sturer Emil. Yeah, it's not a bad machine. Definitely not. There are some bad things about it. The gun traverse is terrible. It is very, very bad gun traverse. But the gun depression is fantastic. It's pretty slow. But it turns relatively quickly. It has absolutely no armor. But it's got a devastating 128mm gun. That can only carry 15 rounds of ammo. But it's got 60 rounds of ammo with the 105mm gun, but it only has 169mm of penetration with the 105mm gun. You know, it's a whole... The whole machine is a whole bunch of choices. That's what it is. It doesn't really... For every great thing about this machine, there's a pretty significant drawback as well that kind of counterbalances it. And so you're left with a machine that's not really bad, but isn't really good either. And you know, there are worse things to say about a machine than it isn't really good. I mean, it's just looking bad compared to... Well, it's not even looking bad. It's just looking unexciting compared to the other new German tank destroyers, from the Marder 38T, the Flak Bus, the Nashorn, the Rheinmetall Borsig Waffenträger, the Waffenträger Panzer IV, the Waffenträger V100 are all really, really exciting machines. There's something phenomenally good about all of them, and there's very little bad about them. This thing, by comparison, just looks uninspiring. But that does not mean it's a bad machine. So, and you know, that's not a bad thing to say. But the worst thing you can say about the new German tank destroyer lineup is that at tier 7, there's nothing to really get excited about. So, you know, there's that. You're certainly... I mean, the whole thing's just a series of choices. And the main choice with this thing is which gun you're going to use. Do you want to put up with only having 15 rounds of ammo and get the power of the 128mm gun? Or do you prefer to remain shooting until the end of the game, but have to put up with a crappy penetration of the 105mm gun. Or, you know, you could always just buy yourself some skill and load up the APCR. The choice is yours. So there you go, the Sturer Emil, the new Tier 7 German tank destroyer. As always, folks, take care on that battlefield. Whatever you're playing, have fun playing it, and I'll catch you next time.